A watch isn't a flex, it's a timeline. It's a living, breathing reminder of who you used to be, who you had to stop being, and who you became along the way. People look at a luxury watch and see metal, diamonds, engineering. I look at it and see a version of myself that refused to stay broke, refused to stay average, refused to stay silent about what he wanted from life. When you grow up with nothing, when you feel the weight of your circumstances crushing you from every angle, a watch doesn't become a status symbol, it becomes a story, a chapter, a timestamp on the war you fought to rewrite your destiny. You have to understand something. The first expensive watch I bought didn't feel like a flex. It felt like closure. That moment when you're standing in the store, the clerk puts the watch on your wrist, and suddenly you're not just wearing it, you're wearing years of sacrifice. You're wearing the 2 a.m. nights, the deals that almost died, the failures that made you question whether you even deserve to win. That's why I say it's a timeline. It marks the exact moment your life takes shape. The moment you realize you're no longer the kid who used to count pennies. You're the man who can buy what he wants because he built himself into someone capable of doing it. Every watch in my collection has a story stitched into it. When I look at my Royal Oak, I remember the first time my agency crossed a milestone that felt insane back then. When I look at one of my Pateks, I remember a year that almost broke me mentally, emotionally, financially, but I pushed through. I bought it not to celebrate success, but to honor survival. People think I'm being dramatic when I say that. They don't understand the psychological violence required to break out of normality. They don't understand that when you're building from zero, your wins feel like miracles because you know how close you were to losing everything. A watch is a trophy, yes, but not in the way people assume. It's not there to show the world what you have. It's there to remind you of what you overcame. Those moments when you doubted yourself, when people told you were delusional, when your goals felt too big for someone with your background, a watch becomes a physical anchor. A way of saying, I made it out, I made it through, and I'm not done yet. And that's why I'll always disrespect the idea that luxury is about flexing. If you're buying a watch because you want strangers to think you're successful, you're already lost. The point isn't to impress others. The point is to whisper to yourself every time you look at your wrist, this is who I had to become. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it a timeline. It's not the price, it's the transformation it represents. Money is a byproduct, not the mission. That's the part most people never understand, and it's exactly why they never see any real success. They put money on this pedestal, worship it, chase it, obsess over it, and then cry when it runs from them. Because money is like a shadow. When you chase it directly, it slips out of reach. When you focus on moving forward with purpose, it follows automatically. The moment you stop treating money like the goal and start treating value as the mission, everything in your life changes. When I started, I didn't have a dream of swimming in millions or building a massive agency. I had a desire to become someone who didn't have to fear the future. That was the mission. The money came later. When you build from that place, from the hunger to grow, to master your craft, to contribute meaningfully, you tap into a kind of fuel that money alone cannot provide. Money is too weak to pull you through the nights you want to quit. It's too shallow to carry you through the failures, the heartbreaks, the betrayals, the doubts. Only purpose can do that. Only identity can do that. And here's the twist, the people who focus solely on money usually don't even enjoy it when they finally get some. They buy the car, they get the watch, they take the vacation, and instead of feeling fulfilled, they feel emptier. Why? Because they skipped the part where they actually became someone worthy of their goals. They sprinted toward an outcome without ever respecting the process. Money earned without transformation feels like theft from your own potential. It feels unearned. It feels like you cheated yourself. That's why so many people who get a small taste of success sabotage it. They built income, but not identity. When you flip the mindset, everything becomes cleaner. Money becomes a scoreboard, not the game. The scoreboard reflects the effort, the discipline, the consistency, the value you built. In my world, money simply tells me how well I'm serving. If revenues go up, it means I've become more strategic, more effective, more valuable to the people who trust me. If they dip, it means I've become complacent or misaligned. That's it. It's data, not purpose. When you stop worshiping money, you free yourself from desperation. You start making decisions from strength, not fear. You stop taking every client, chasing every trend, copying every guru. You start building on principle. You say no to the wrong opportunities so you can chase the right ones, and the crazy thing, That confidence attracts money faster than hustling ever could, because people are drawn to individuals who don't need their money. People trust someone who values mastery over ego. That's where longevity comes from. The truth is, money is easy. It becomes easy once you become the type of person who deserves it. Once you have discipline, clarity, and an iron grip on your direction, money becomes the byproduct of who you are. But if you make it the mission, you'll always feel behind, always feel stressed, always feel desperate for the next hit of dopamine that a small payday gives you. If you want wealth, real wealth, you need to fall in love with becoming valuable. You need to love building systems, refining your craft, developing your mind, mastering your emotions. These are the things that create abundance effortlessly. Money is just the receipt. The real product is you, the sharpened, unrecognizable version of yourself that emerges when you stop chasing quick wins and start building a life worth living. When money stops being the mission, ironically, that's when it starts pouring in. Because now you're driven by something deeper, something harder to break, something that shines far brighter than any bank balance, purpose. And purpose will make you wealthy in ways money never could. The biggest flex is control. Not the car, not the watch, not the house control. The ability to wake up and decide how your day looks, who you work with, what you build, and what you tolerate. Most people think status comes from material things, but material things without control are just decorations in a prison cell. Real power is when your life bends to your decisions, not to your circumstances. And very few people ever experience that because control requires one thing they fear more than failure: responsibility. You can't have control if you keep outsourcing your life to excuses. You can't claim control when you let your boss dictate your income, when you let your emotions dictate your behavior, when you let society dictate your dreams. Most people say they want freedom, but what they actually want is comfort dressed up as freedom. They want the results of control without the burden of earning it. That's why they stay stuck. It's easier to complain about the system than to become the kind of person who rises above it. When I buy a watch, it's not because I'm trying to flex money. It's because it reminds me I earned autonomy. Every cent I spend is backed by years of decisions I took full responsibility for. The biggest flex isn't wearing something expensive. The biggest flex is buying something without asking permission, without checking your bank balance, without sacrificing your future stability. That level of confidence doesn't come from cash. It comes from control. Control over your habits, your discipline, your business, your mind. People misunderstand the point of success. They think it's about proving others wrong. They think it's about showing the world you made it. But the truth is far more internal. Success is about buying back the one currency no one can refund you: time. The day you stop trading hours for survival and start trading hours for creation, expansion, vision, that's the day you become dangerous. Because now you're not living reactively, you're living intentionally. Control is the opposite of chaos. Most people live in chaos disguised as normal life. They're always rushing, always behind, always anxious, always broke, always hoping someone else will hand them an opportunity. When you have control, the chaos stops. You decide the direction, you decide the pace, you decide what gets your attention and what gets cut out. And when you reach that level of clarity, your life simplifies in the best way possible. You stop chasing everything, you start choosing, and here's the irony: once you have control, you don't even crave the flex anymore. Because you realize none of it compares to the feeling of owning your time, your decisions, your environment. That's the real luxury, that's the real wealth. Anyone can make a bit of money. Very few ever build the internal and external systems required to control their own lives. That's why I say the biggest flex is control. It's the final level, the point where you've built yourself into someone who doesn't just survive the world, he shapes it.